Ready and racing.
Welcome to the Dogcast for Greyhound Racing SA. Visit grsa.com.au.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Dogcast, brought to you by Greyhound Racing SA. I'm your host, Brenton Yates, joined today, as always, by Greyhound Racing SA's racing manager, Shaun Mathieson. And boy, is this a big week in greyhound racing.
Definitely, Yatesy. Yeah, great to be on the Dogcast again. Plenty to talk about on this episode, but as you said, the Nationals week. We saw all the state finals a week and a half ago. All leads into this Saturday night at the Meadows. And also Saturday morning at Healesville.
Yep.
A huge week of racing with the real national focus in Victoria, and we've got some great representation.
We have. We'll actually be having a chat to Tim Aloisi, who has got the two finalists from South Australia, which is a fantastic effort. We'll go back and review all of the state finals, particularly ours, of course, and the other ones from a reference point in relation to the final. And look ahead to Thursday night. We've got the Kings and Queens heats, along with the Classic Prelude final. So we've got plenty to come on the Dogcast today.
The Week in Review.
Our Week in Review is brought to you by the Fresh Pet Food Co., proud suppliers of fresh pet food for our GAP SA greyhounds in the GAP prison programs. They are based right here in South Australia, so you can visit their website, freshpetfoodco.com.au, for more information. Well, Matho, let's go back and review the national sprint distance and straight track finals. Where do you want to start?
We'll probably start with the straight track.
Yeah,
I reckon.
That was a fair while ago now, wasn't it?
It was the 8th of was it the 8th of August?
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, I mean, we had a wonderful edition of the straight track final at the Bridge. Some wonderful heats all led into the final, and you know, when the box draw came out, pretty much all the chances sort of drew where they wanted to draw.
Yep.
So I think no one really had any bad luck through the run, and the top two qualified for SA, and what a race it was. We saw Cash on Delivery come out really fast from box 8 and stay nice and wide and look to have the race at its mercy. But Federal Outlaw for Ben Rawlings, after a slowish beginning, but got to the rail where he wanted to be and really charged late to claim the prize. 1905. The straight track can be a little bit funny with times. If you get a tailwind, you can go a bit quicker, a headwind, go a bit slower. 1905, Federal Outlaw beat Cash on Delivery, and I was for Ashley Griffiths. And I was also pleased for Dave Peckham. Unfortunately, Aston Elena didn't qualify for the national final.
Yep.
But geez, Aston Elena's been a wonderful straight track dog for Dave Peckham, and he ended up running third. So it was a great race.
Yeah, terrific. Look, they go through to the final. They probably haven't drawn exactly where they want to be. We'll get to that. Cash on Delivery in 5 and Federal Outlaw 6. We'll get to reasons as to why they're not good. But, that finish of the winner was pretty extraordinary because even as far as 60 metres out, it probably was... It was starting to work, but you didn't think it was going to have that power late, Federal Outlaw, so it was a great win.
Yeah, I think I was probably a bit surprised that he was able to run past dogs. Like he has shown a lot of really good early, so I think probably most people thought he might have been up on speed, but you're right, he powered to the line late and just got the win. Said Cash on Delivery. He's been in electric form for a long period of time, and I'm glad they got some rewards to showcase this dog on the national level, because we know how the dog's been going chasing that Gawler track record.
Yeah.
But yeah, the top two, a great race. And I mean, just the depth of the final. You had like the He's on Fire, Taylor Toves, all of our best sprinting dogs were in that race. So a terrific edition.
What about the distance? We move along. Zipping Neutron taking it out for Tim Aloisi was the really short price favourite. And look, it probably panned out a little bit as we expected in relation to the winner. And look, Springvale Rex was a pretty brave run in second spot. Dashing Deb wound out the top 3. Zipping Neutron was able to punch up and find the lead. What did you make of the race?
Yeah, I mean, I think the outcome is how everyone expected. He was shooting for 10 in a row and he got the win. But the race itself panned out a little bit different than perhaps what we thought. I mean, Zipping Neutron was able to punch through and lead. And a lap from home, even in your call, Yatesy, I think you sort of was a little bit like, well, this is all over. He's just going to race away. But Springvale Rex really put it to him down the back straight. Neutron got off the rail a little bit and Rex sort of had the opportunity to move through. It was only late in the race that Neutron really established the ascendancy and was able to clear out. But yeah, I think just in your call, you sort of think you're probably expecting a little bit more from him.
Yeah, I was. And I want to ask Tim about what he thought about the run as well, because going out of the straight is when I'm used to seeing Zipping Neutron make its move. So it's normally out and around and sort of chasing hard and putting them away down the back. This time was in front, which we hadn't seen a lot of, Zipping Neutron being in the lead out of the straight. So I was expecting the same acceleration down the back, put 5 or 6 on them quickly, but that didn't happen. The opposite happened. Springvale Rex made ground on Zipping Neutron. But what we probably haven't seen was Zipping Neutron in the home running, which you correctly point out, was then able to quickly put 3 or 4 lengths in that last bit.
Yeah.
Now, normally that run has been sustained down the back and holding on, but this was a little bit of a different run. So I want to ask Tim about that and what he thought.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to hear what he says. I mean, the dog's been up for a while and he's undefeated in 10 race starts. So to keep him at such a high level would be pretty difficult. So every now and again, I suppose the dog will probably surprise a little bit. So I'll be really interested to hear what Tim has to say.
We move to the sprint final, also for Tim Aloisi. Now, the favourite in this race was a very open betting race, but Could Be King was the medium of some pretty good support. He ended up running 5th in the race, but Raver's Army for Tim Aloisi, who didn't have a lot of luck in the heat. We did touch on that in the Dogcast, but that is as good a positioning and the intent that I've seen from him in the early part of the race, despite sort of flopping out of boxes a bit, that first bend where he was able to move through and position, that was where the race was won.
Agreed, yeah. I think on the Dogcast, I think we're both pretty good judges, Yatesy. We knew which was the dog to get the right position. We got the wrong dog, though. Yep. I mean, I thought that Could Be King would get that position, and you were more so Dash of Blue, thinking they'd get that position. But Raver's Army began well. Gosh, was 3rd, through the pen, and in your call, as you like, he's right there. Like he's really in a challenging position. So he got the right run. He showed a lot of intent early, and you just knew that he was going to be there late, and he was able to, pick up the leader, Kuron Cam, late in the piece and race away. Reality Infrared was an eye-catching performance, really stepping up to that grade and performing really well for second. And Dash of Blue has been in really terrific form for Richard Pearce and was another solid run after being wide.
Yep.
Feel a little bit for Timmy Richards and Kuron Cam. Does everything, leads them up, and it's there to be beaten, and just can't grab one of these feature races at the moment, but is in really good form. And as you mentioned, Could Be King was the race favourite, heavily supported. Didn't begin as probably the Rawlings team would have liked, and just found his way back in the field and ran home late into 5th. But, he needed the luck early and he just didn't get it.
Yeah, and I mean, the finish on beat the speed, which is what we sort of thought, wasn't it? Like there was a real battle between speed and strength, and the strength won out. I thought Reality Infrared was a really nice run. And Kuron Cam at this level, it's just a little bit too far in it. Like the 5:30 lead sets up a good lead and then is sort of closed off late. But great win by Raver's Army. I saw Tim after the race. I caught up with him, went down, had a bit of a chat, and it was obviously a buzz getting both of them through. But he made some good points, and I'm probably as guilty as anyone of underestimating him. Like, I liked his run in the lead up, the heat, but Tim was of the impression that he's been talked down a bit, this dog, and I took that on board and accept what he says there. And more what I explained to him is I go right back to that Murray Bridge Cup race, when he drew one. And from that moment, I was just a bit disappointed there, and I probably have held on to that for a bit too long. And for me, he's just been back and looking, but on his night, he can do anything, can't he? And he showed that in the final.
Well, he had the fastest time leading into the race.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly the fastest time. He'd produced that.
Yeah.
But as you said, I think, he's probably established himself as probably more of a middle distance dog at his absolute best. But he showed how versatile he is. And obviously what a terrific training performance by Tim to get both through. He spoke very well on the dais around representing SA and the investment he's made in SA racing, and it's a terrific reward for him. So, it's a credit to him. I don't know how often it's happened where a trainer's been able to qualify for both the sprint and the distance with both their dogs.
Well, terrific effort. So we'll have a chat to Tim in the next segment of the Dogcast. But just a bit of reflection back to last week, Matho, last Thursday night. Just a couple of things out of the race which sort of make this Sprint Championship finals stand up as well. I mean, Reality Infrared obviously has gone on and won since.
Yep.
Dash of Blue last Thursday night, stepped up in trip, gone on and won since. Springvale Maddie coming out of the race, no luck in the early stages of the final, but comes out last week and wins again.
Yeah.
So all of this fed into last Thursday night's results a bit too, didn't it?
Definitely. I think it's a good indication of the quality of the fields that SA was able to produce. That these dogs have then gone on and won subsequently who competed in those races. So, I mean, at that level, a touch of luck, and any of the dogs could have won the sprint final. We've highlighted the sprint final. Any of them could have won. And they've gone on subsequently and won races last Thursday night. Very impressive. Dash of Blue, really impressed with the way that dog is going. Again, Drew won. We know it's the Shane McQueen winner, and won from box one and did the job again last Thursday night. And Springvale Maddie, she's a little bit of an enigma, Yatesy.
Yeah.
At her absolute best, she is one of the best sprinters in the state, but she can, just find her way into a little bit of trouble every now and again, but she was impressive.
Yeah, interesting. She's drawn 8 on Thursday night as well, and sort of where she slots in from there. Yep. The other thing from Thursday night, Lachlan Mill had a double, and he's obviously first Angle Park double, but I was speaking to Luke from marketing, who obviously takes care of all this as well, but it was only his third winner at Angle Park, so he had one before he'd had the double. So what a great thrill for him on Thursday night.
Terrific, to get that. And he almost had a treble because he ran second in the other maiden with, I think, Speeding Turtle, ran second, beating a neck.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I mean, a double's great. It was close to a treble. So that's gone from nothing to elite.
Yeah.
So well done to Lachlan. And, hopefully his team builds a little bit and he has a little bit more success.
Yeah, well, great stuff. Well done, Lachlan, last Thursday night. Coming up next, big preview, straight track, sprint, distance, the big finals on Saturday night at the Meadows.
The preview.
Our preview is brought to you by SA Greyhound Tips Twitter feed. Free tips for SA Metro Greyhound meetings. Search at the Dogs SA and get on board. As always, gamble responsibly. Something a little bit different on the Dogcast. We actually had the opportunity to catch up with Tim Aloisi, just sort of in between breaks a little bit there. He had a little bit going on, so it was a little pre-record that we have done. So we're going to slot that in for you here. We sent Matho out to go and grab a coffee, so he won't be featuring in this interview. But right now, let's have a listen to Tim Aloisi. He's got Ravers Army in the sprint and obviously Zipping Neutron in the distance final. And here's what he thinks. Got over. Look where Ravers Army's booting through to. So to the back, Coorong Cam by 2.5. Ravers Army, then Reality Infrared. Next is Dash of Blue. Then Could Be King. Springvale Maddie, Springvale Max, and then came Basil Brush Rose. Leader here, Coorong Cam. Ravers Army's moving up. Then came Reality Infrared and Dash of Blue. Taking the lead, Ravers Army clear. It's an Aloisi avalanche. Ravers Army too good. We've got a very special guest coming up on the Dogcast, and what a Saturday night he has got planned. Extraordinary effort by our very special guest, Tim Aloisi. He was able to qualify not only the sprint finalists from South Australia, but also the distance finalists. An extraordinary effort from a man who has been training, in earnest really, for probably only a bit over 12 months. He's been kind enough to give us some of his time on the Dogcast today. Tim, welcome, mate, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a bit of a surprise, but very honoured to win both races and represent our state.
And what was your post race feeling, mate? I mean, an extraordinary achievement and something that you've been able to do in a relatively short space of time. What was the feeling for you when you qualified both?
Well, obviously there was a little bit of pressure with Zipping Neutron. He probably should have won, and in them races, you just always need that little bit of luck. So when he won, to be honest, is probably a bit more relief.
Yep.
Obviously then excited because, I thought he was my main chance to head over there. And then obviously a real quick backup. I think I got the dog with 10 minutes before the race and Shirley got him out for me. And then to grab Ravers Army and then go into that race, to win that was a bit of a surprise and very shocked to have won that one.
Oh, congratulations, mate. It's a fabulous achievement. Let's touch on Zipping Neutron. Can you take us through the race, the state final? Look, to be honest, I expected him to really charge away down the back straight. We didn't quite see that, but still able to get it done on his merits. Really liked the beginning of the race. What were your thoughts after the event?
Yeah, look, I thought he could lead the race. I mean, everyone thinks the dog likes to be out wide, which, he does like to track wide. But box draws for the dog doesn't bother him, if he draws 1 or 8. So when the box draw came out, I was actually pretty happy he drew the inside.
Yep.
I think in big races, being on the inside is probably a bonus. So when he drew where he did, I was actually happy. And I did say to a few people, like, I think I'll lead the race. Once he led, I thought, oh, beautiful, should be all over. Then along the back, when Gav's dog got relatively close, I thought, okay, what's going on? And then obviously on the home straight, he took off to win by 4 again. So, yeah, look, I wasn't too worried. I do believe the dog does go a lot better with a dog out in front of him. Yeah, I wasn't too fussed with the run. You just take the win and march along.
Now, you have taken him over to the Meadows on Saturday night to have a look. Ran 42.96. Take us through your thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, it's obviously new, a 10-hour travel for the dog, so it was relatively new. It was a bit of the reason why I went to Mount Gambier 3 or 4 weeks before, just to see how the dogs would travel. And he travelled well. We got there, I probably got there a bit too early. There's a few little things I'll change up this week. Obviously, the first time I've gone into state, I was probably a bit too keen and left a little bit too early. So I will change up that a little bit and try to get there a bit closer to kenneling. But yeah, his trial was absolutely brilliant. The track, they harrowed the track that week, so it was slow. I was impressed with his first 2 splits, so 4.99 and 16.10. To give you an idea, like a group bitch like Untapped, who is a front running stayer and been, very good in Melbourne. She kind of runs, 4.52 to 4.55. So yeah, that first split, absolutely wrapped with how he come out and got going. 29.90 odd to the back's very solid. And then the overall time on a Harrow track, yeah, I was wrapped with it. He did get a little bit tired, but I'll just put that down to the Harrow track. And yeah, there's a few little things I'll improve this week. So look, I'm confident that I can run, it's a very hard race, but I think he can run a cheeky race. I'm not going into it thinking I'll win, but if he can place, I'm over the moon.
It's fascinating to hear you talk about the way you've prepared, Tim. Like, you sound a very detailed person. You sound as though you take immediate feedback in relation to what's sort of working, what's not, and then you're happy to change things around, like the travel to Mount Gambier to get an idea, the travel that you've gone a bit early to Melbourne for your first time. I think this is a big reason why you're having some great success, because your attention to detail, just listening to you now, sounds quite extreme.
Oh, look, you're always learning. I'm only new to the sport. I'm somebody that takes on feedback from anyone. Doesn't matter whether you're a group trainer or a tier 3 trainer. You're always learning in this sport. I see people, and I think sometimes everyone becomes a bit stubborn and their way's their way, where I'm somebody that takes in everything. Each dog's different, and you've got to try something, learn. And, I'm lucky I've got a good support group around me where people can ring me up, chat to me about, what my methods of doing something was, and then go, oh, did you think of this? Did you think of that? And I just take it on board. And if I think I can improve, well, that's what this sport's about. It's finding any little bit of extra, something you can change that helps your dog perform. And yeah, if I try something, whether it's, when I played soccer, footy, or racing, I do take, what I do very serious. So that I don't cut no corners, no shortcuts. If I'm doing something, I give it my all. And at the end of the day, same as this week, I've done everything I can for these dogs. I've given them a look. I've had personally a pretty tough week this week with a few things that have happened outside of dogs, but I didn't change anything. I've stuck to my guns. Went to Melbourne, and yeah, I'll give it my all.
Is that personal, Tim? Is that something you want to talk about or not?
Yeah, just a tough week. Obviously, Grifter Bale, our pet dog, we had to put him down during the week, so that was pretty hard for me and the family. And then Friday night, before I took off, my mum was admitted to hospital with a heart attack. So, yeah.
Goodness, I'm sorry to hear, Tim. Gee, what you've done under the circumstances is extraordinary. Is your mum coming through okay?
Yeah, she's good. Yeah. Yeah, she's all right. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, look, thanks for sharing that, and I'm sorry if we went to spaces where you didn't want to go. Can you take us to the final, sort of shifting gears a bit here with Zipping Neutron? Do you find the lead, or is the Tasmanian dog the main danger in that part of the race early, Fast Minardi?
Yeah, look, it's obviously a very good race. You got Zohar Bao, who is an absolute flying machine. I think it's clearly the favourite and the dog to beat. I mean, the motor that dog's got is probably one of the biggest motors I've seen. So it's the main danger, along with Palau King. I really like the box draw.
Yeah.
Obviously in these big races, the SA dogs and the interstate dogs, we need any bit of extra bonus we can get, because we're not as good as the better Victorian dogs. But the box draw really suits me. We've drew the 1. Days of Thunder's in the 2. It's very slow out. Zohar Bale is again very slow out. And then you've got the Tasmanian dog, Fast Madari, who I don't know its splits and that, but I do know it trialled Monday afternoon, and it's just had a box to box. But I've been told that it didn't trial as fast as Zipping Neutron split. So that's
okay.
a positive thing. So, yeah, the way I need the race to pan out is, I lead or lob second. I do think Neutron seems to race better when there's a pilot dog out in front. I think he loves the competition. I think sometimes when he's out in front, he can think he's done the job. And I think that's what happened in the national final. If you watch the replay, he's out in front and he probably think, oh, yeah, I've got the job done. And then he realises Gavin's dog looms up on him. And if you look how quick that dog puts 3 lengths on that dog, it's unbelievable. So I don't – it's one of them funny ones. You always want to lead a race, but I'm not too fussed if I don't. If for some reason Fast Madari or something else did jump in front of him, as long as I can lob second and get around that first bend with a bit of clean air, I think he could run a cheeky race. Whether it's good enough to run top 3, I hope it is. But very happy with the box draw.
Yeah, well, that's once again fascinating to hear how you've analysed all that. And look, I didn't even think about it the way you spoke about the final. And when you reflect back on his runs prior to that, you're right. When there's something in front, he's got this desire and this acceleration that just sort of gets him right into it. And perhaps that was the story in the final. He didn't have that to do. So, look, really interesting to hear that. Thanks for sharing that information. We better move to Ravers Army. The sprint title is up for grabs here. Obviously, Postman Pat is going to be extremely hard to beat. He's the $1.50 favourite early. But take us through the sprint final of the state division. Look, to me, that was as aggressive and what's the best way to say it? Field sense-wise, it's as good as I've seen him go to that first bend. And once he was there, that was sort of the race done, even though he didn't have a flash beginning.
Yeah, he's a funny dog, Ravers Army. He's probably a dog that he does what he does, and you've kind of just not got to worry about it, because the week before it's kind of scratching my head, really. I gave him a good chance of winning the heat, and he done a lot wrong and just didn't do nothing. I was just happy to run 4th and make the final. When the box draw came out for the final, I actually didn't mind it. Everyone said, oh, you'd be spilling, you got 4. But there was pace in 1, 2, and then Could Be King in 3. I kind of thought I had to jump in front of Could Be King, but obviously that didn't pan out. But Raver's Army's just got a different, brain. You don't know what dog's going to rock up, because one week he'll want to rail and just want the rail, and then other weeks he gets caught out wide and he zips around him. So, he is a smart dog and he is a fast dog, but very tardy early, so he always needs a little bit of luck.
Yeah, he had a 5:34 section there when you took him over on Saturday, but something that was extremely noticeable out of that trial, you touched on it a bit there from the rail perspective. Boy, did he hug that paint.
Yeah, I was disappointed with the trial. I was probably hoping to run 30 dead or at worst 30 and 10. He's had a couple of goes at the Meadows and never done well, which doesn't worry me. It was a bit early on in his career. But it is hard sometimes. We can be, as trainers, very critical on a dog when, you go there and you're going, I want to run 30 dead or 30 and 10, and he comes out and runs 30 and 30. He's missed the kick, which that's just Raver's Army. One day he jumps, another day he walks out. If he can tidy that little first split up, and he ran, he hugged the rail, but if you watch, he ran with his head in the air. And he was feeling his way around the back. The only time he probably knuckled down and put his head down and chased hard was on the home straight, I feel, where, he ran home 12-12, which is very strong. So although I'm disappointed, I still take some positives out of the trial. The way I kind of panned the final out, I'm happy for him to miss the kick and just go to the rail and hope there's a bit of trouble. That's probably the best. And I think that's what's going to happen. There's a lot of pace, and I think he's near on last out and jumps to the rail.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I saw the final, Tim. And look, his best chance, obviously, is if... Because Tinkernorm will probably want to shift up a bit, and Sage to Neil will probably want to get down to the rail, the WA Greyhound, so they might do a bit of bumping. Postman Pat's probably got the superior pace to get over and down, and then you might just slot in behind, and if there's any sort of bother, who knows? $81 pop, but funnier things have happened.
Yeah, it's an interesting box draw. Tinkernorm in the red, Postman Pat in 3. Tinkernorm wants off the track pretty bad.
Yeah.
And he can go with Postman Pat early. So, the way the box draws worked out, it is what it is, really. I don't mind the box draw. Obviously, we need a lot of luck, and he's probably against it. But, if he can be competitive, that's all I'll be happy with.
Well, Tim, look, we really appreciate your time on the Dogcast. We know you shared some personal information with us, which we obviously appreciate, and we wish you and your family all the best and hope things are good there. But look, all of South Australia will be watching on Saturday night. It's been a fantastic thing you've done to get these two through to the final, and look, we wish you all the best on Saturday night.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me. Like I said, the dogs will be ready to go, and we've done everything, possible. So, very proud, and hopefully I'll do everyone in South Australia proud with the dogs.
Enjoy the night, mate. Thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thank you.
Oh, there you go, Matho. Terrific interview there with Tim. Thanks for your insightful questions.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear any of it, actually. No, I did. It's a wonderful interview, and it's great to get the trainers on, wonderful insights to Tim, and just a bit of adversity that he's had to face. So we wish him every success at the Meadows on Saturday night.
When you listen to him, you can tell why he's successful, because his attention to detail, his desire to do the work that's required around everything else that he's got going on in his life, work, family, the whole bit, you can see why he's sort of had the success that he has, because he's serious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you look at the investment at his property, at his premise, where his kennels are, and, those dogs, it's in immaculate condition. The dogs are presented exceptionally well, and he has the success. So, I mean, he's invested really heavily, and he's getting the rewards.
Gee, something I didn't ask him about was Zipping Digby. I really like this greyhound, and can you talk to me about this? He's had a couple of runs in South Australia now. First run I thought was really good and showed that it sort of needed that look. Came out, was crunched in the market on Monday night, and really nice win.
Yeah, no, I think new to SA. I mean, really exciting to see what this dog can do. I mean, I think they paid a bit of money for him, so
He's going to be more a middle distance and staying type, isn't he? More so than sprint, or what do you think?
yeah, I think he'll step up to the middle distance and maybe the distance, but he showed on Monday night what he can do. So, I mean, it might stick to the sprint. The Adelaide Cup is only a couple of months away, so no doubt he'll be a big player for the Aloisi team there. But yeah, I mean, an exciting dog on the way through, and it's great to see some of these dogs in, racing in SA.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get underway with the Nationals, Matho. So it all starts off Saturday morning, Hillsville. We've got the final of the straight track Nationals. So I'll just run through the market here along with the field. So Valhalla for Queensland at $12. Number 2, Shall Not, New South Wales at $5. 3, Unleash Kalinda at $2.40 for Victoria. We've got Oscar Moses for New South Wales, box 4 at $10. Cash on delivery for South Australia at $21. Federal Outlaw for South Australia is at $21. We've got Maybe Yesterday for Victoria at $2.70. And we've got Bye Bye Raider representing... Where's Bye Bye Raider from?
That's a good one. Maybe Queensland.
Okay, yep, all right, Queensland. So I should know that. Anyway, that's the field, and it's drawn box 8. It's a $51 pop. So as we look through, what do you make of it? The straight track Saturday morning.
Well, I mean, there's 2 representatives from each state, or the 4 states who do straight track racing. We touch on the South Australians. They've drawn. They would have liked to have reversed a little bit where they draw next to each other, and clearly would have liked a slightly better draw. But I think the depth of SA straight track racing is good enough to be very competitive here. I think Cash on Delivery has shown how quick the dog's gone over 400 metres at Gawler and also down the straight track, and Federal Outlaw showed his ability in winning, and they're quoted at $21. I think that's overs for what they can produce, but they are going to a track that they've never raced before. I know they've both had a look at it, both had a trial, so that'll help for Saturday morning.
Yep.
But they are up against it. They're drawn the middle, and it's an elite straight track final. The 2 Victorians have the advantage, I think. Unleash Kalinda out of the 3 and Maybe Yesterday out of the 7.
They're probably drawn where they don't want to be, though, haven't they? Like, Unleash Kalinda probably likes a bit more room than drawing 3, and it's going to have Federal Outlaw trying to get down, of course, and Maybe Yesterday is a railer. Like, it wants the fence. It's drawn 7, so they're the faves in the market, but... I feel like they're probably misplaced a bit on the box draw. I thought the New South Wales dog, Shall Not from box 2, was worth a bit of a look.
Yeah, well, we did see Shall Not did race here in South Australia for a period of time and was always a couple of strides out of the boxes for him to get going. But once he got going, there was no faster dog from 2 strides after the boxes to the winning post. And he's been in dominant form in New South Wales. And the point you said, Yatesy, about the Victorians, as what happened in their state final. They had drawn the opposite sides of the track.
Right.
They've done it again.
Yeah.
That should mean that Shall Not will probably get some clear running early.
You would imagine so.
Yeah. So, and he is, as I said, he's been the best straight track performer in New South Wales for a long period of time.
What do you know about Oscar Moses?
Yeah, well, he beat Shall Not.
Yeah, Shall Not didn't have a lot of luck, from what I understand. So Oscar Moses, the other representative, obviously, for New South Wales. Do you know where it prefers to run?
Well, it came from an inside drawer in the state final and virtually came up the rail. So, but obviously he's very quick to win. So I would assume he'll want to go straight or head towards the rail. I mean, the law in New South Wales has been on the rail, so they're probably conducive to going in that. I know they're going to change that to be a drag law, but where they've been racing, they've sort of headed towards the rail, so I think that's where he'll sort of want to head. So yeah, I mean, it could open up a little bit. There could be some interference here, Yates.
Yeah, absolutely, there could.
I mean, maybe Shall Not from a race point of view gets the clearest run of all of them. I've got to, the Victorian form is definitely good enough with clear running. And again, if the South Australian dogs had drawn either side of each other, would have probably helped. but they're both quick enough, so they'll do well.
All right. Any thoughts, tip-wise, in that particular final?
Well, after hearing your thoughts, I'm a bit like Shaun not about what it might do, but I do like Maybe Yesterday. I know it wants to be on the rail, but it's shown that it's the one of the best straight track performers.
Yep.
So I do like Maybe Yesterday. So if I was going to go Shaun not Maybe Yesterday to Dead Heat, and I actually think that Cash on Delivery to run third with Federal Outlaw fourth, I would not be discounting the South Australian performers. I know people on the Eastern Seaboard love doing that, which is a bit disappointing. There are live chances in this race because they're quick enough.
Not only that, the way Federal Outlaw finished the race off, I mean, this is a little bit more of a testing straight track at Hillsville, probably. So that strength at the end, I think, is important.
Who did you like?
I like Shall Not, just the way the box draws fall. And I think we've got to respect the market with the two Victorians. But I'd be with Unleashed Kalinda in front of Maybe Yesterday, just because of how far Maybe Yesterday's got to try and get over. So I've gone 2 from 3. I've put in the Queenslander Valhalla for third and Federal Outlaw for fourth. But not a lot between it and Cash on Delivery, just luck in running.
Saturday morning, it'll be the last race on the Hillsville program. It'll be a big program there Saturday morning, so I encourage everyone to have a look and cheer on the SA Dogs.
And then everyone jumps in the car, Matho, and heads to the Meadows.
They do.
Big stuff happening there on Saturday night. Let's have a look at the distance final. Run through the box draw and you can give us the thoughts. Zipping Neutron, obviously, for South Australia, $18. Days of Thunder for Queensland at $10. The odds-on favourite Zohar Bale for Victoria at $1.70. Fast Bernardi for Tasmania at $9. Palawa King, a wildcard entry for New South Wales at $2.90. Pawa Louise, the New Zealander, is at $101. Had to come through customs and the whole bit, Matho. Zipping Vanessa at $18 for New South Wales. And Ballistic Ant for WA, a $96 winner of its particular state final, is $101.
Yep.
Tell us about this race.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely, again, we look at dogs with speed and dogs that fall out of the boxes. And I think this actually goes well for our SA representative.
Going to be on the pace.
Zipping Neutron. I absolutely think so. I think he's shown that he can, he's got strength and he's got the form on the board. So, I mean, I expect to see the likes of Fast Minardi from the Tassie representative go out hard, which is what he's done in his performances. But the likes of Days of Thunder from Queensland, Palawa King, Zohar Bale, they'll just be out the back and very strong, huge respect for all of them. But it does give our representative a chance, I think, to sit on speed. And then you've got a chance to win. If you're coming from back in the field in a strong Group 1 final like this, the chances are you either can't make ground or you find bad luck. So at least I think he'll be up on speed. However, having said that, there are some exceptional greyhounds that will be coming from back in the field. And Zohar Bale is the dominant stayer. It's come onto the stage massively. Big performances in Victoria. So, I mean, I think it's the dog to beat, Zohar Bale, for the Delbridges. Palawa King's another dog who's been going really good on the national scene. It'll be really hard to beat. And I'd put Zipping Neutron in for third.
Yeah, it was fascinating listening to Tim Aloisi when he spoke about its run in the final for South Australia and how he thought perhaps maybe it races best trying to run one down. And he found that when Gavin's dog, Springvale Rex, got up on the inside, that he sort of went again and then really put a margin on them. So, and also the way Tim spoke about, he might have made a few mistakes heading over there for the trialling of them. He felt like he went a bit early and he's learned some things there. So there could be improvement in Zipping Neutron out of that. And I really think he's probably a bit underrated in this final because of his run in the final. It wasn't as impressive as perhaps we were thinking, but hearing Tim speak, there's genuine reasons I feel why that's the case, and he could absolutely turn out a better run here. And the way Tim spoke about it, he didn't mind if Fast Minardi got over because that gives Zipping Neutron something to chase out after.
It's a really good point, Yates. We saw Zipping Neutron go to Mount Gambier and was chasing In the Bug, who had led and gave him something to chase, and he claimed the track record, and he ran away from the opposition. So I think it's a really good point that Tim and yourself have made, that chasing something really gets that dog really, really interested.
Yeah, look, I find it hard to go past the Victorian. All that said, I mean, I think the pace is only the 1 and the 4. I think they'll clearly be in the lead, but just the powerful finish that Zohar Bale has. You know, $1.70, probably about its price. It's just hard for me to see it being beaten. I really think Zipping Neutron's a massive chance of a place. And I like the Tasmanian as well. I think Fast Minardi at around the $9 can give a pretty bold sight too. So I'm going for the 2 speedsters and the close off with Zohar Bale.
I think it's going to be a really interesting race. And again, the way Fast Minardi did go in, he only beat 2 other contestants in his state final, but he was out with a 20-length lead plus. I mean, he just was miles in front.
But what about his race record? I think he's like 33 starts for 18 wins, 12 placings, or 12 seconds. So he's 30 times he's finished in the top 2 out of 33 runs. I mean, that's an extraordinary record.
It doesn't matter who you're racing against or where you're racing. If you can produce that, then you deserve your spot in the final and you're a live chance. Particularly as you mentioned, Yatesy, he looks the clear leader. Yeah,
he'll be up there with Zipping Neutron. So, and Tim Aloisi touched on the fact he didn't mind the inside draw. So there we go, the distance final. So tips, I'm going to go 3, 4, 1, and 5.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty much the same. Zohar Bale on top, Palawa King second. I'd put Zipping Neutron for third, and I'll put in Fast Minardi based on all of that for fourth. Okay,
what about the sprint final? Do you want to run through the prices and box draw here, Matho?
Yeah, so the sprint final, a wonderful addition this year. Tinker Norm out of the one at $5.50
for Victoria.
Sage Tennille for WA at $10. A really good story behind that dog. I know Pete O'Neill's done a great job around the naming of the dog, and just it's a great story for the connections there. So definitely jump online and have a look at that.
Okay.
The 3 is Postman Pat for Victoria. The favourite at $1.50. He's actually a New Zealander, but anyway, Victoria will claim him. 4 Ravers Army for Tim Aloisi at $81, Yatesy.
Yep.
5 Modern Swinger for New South Wales at $41. 6 Bears Bullet for Queensland at $41. Raiders Guide, the Tassie representative at $31. And 8 Amron Boy for Victoria and Brooke Ennis at $4.40. Initial thoughts on this race, Yatesy. I'll let you go first about this one.
Well, I mean, it looks pretty simple, doesn't it? Like, really, Postman Pat begins, gets down to the rail and probably wins. I think Tinker Norm does have speed, wants to shift up the track a bit, and Sage Tennille apparently on its trial really wanted to work down to the inside, so it went left out of boxes. So it might just be colliding with Tinkerman early, and they might just be bumping while Postman Pat's trying to get over and down. Yep. He's going to have no speed on his outside, obviously, with Ravers Army and even Modern Swinger. Obviously, Bears Bullet can show speed. It'll be the pace. But, I mean, $1.50 to me probably looks pretty good, to be honest. And I'm not really a shorties type of guy in general.
Yeah, no, I think no, in general, make him your best bet. That'll be the kiss of death for him. However, but the race is set up perfectly for him, hasn't it? Really, he's drawn an inside box. He's shown he's got good speed, and he's shown he's strong still at the end as well. So I mean, I think I wouldn't go so far to say it's his race to lose, because it's not, because there high quality dogs are in this race, and one slip up and he will find himself back in the pack. But I think all being equal, he should just roll to the front, really. It does actually help Ravers Army. I think it might give him a clear passage across to the rail where he wants to be.
Yep.
And so then he's got a chance to run on. But I think he's running for a top 4 position. I do think that Postman Pat, I get him on top. I think he'll be really hard to beat. I like the Tinker Norm out of the 1. He's going really good as well.
Now, Hanley gets a start, doesn't he? Because the New Zealand rep didn't come across.
Correct,
his run was okay behind Postman Pat too.
Yeah. He's a very live chance in the race.
And Amron Boy likes rail, doesn't it? It's drawn box 8, so...
Amron Boy would be a huge risk, I would have thought, from box 8. He wants to get to the rail. There's going to be dogs in his way, I think. So... he'd be a huge risk. I wouldn't be looking at him at all. So I haven't put him in my top 3.
Yep.
I think Bears Bullet, the Queensland representative, can run a big race. So I'm looking at the 3, 1 and 6 as my top 3. hoping Ravers Army can get a nice run and really run home for the Aloisi team, but I think it's going to be a difficult assignment.
Yeah.
What about your numbers?
I've gone 3-2-1-4. So I thought Postman Pat would get over. Tinker Norm and Sage Tennille would be sort of bumping in behind in second and third. Maybe Bears Bullet would be up and around, but I just didn't think it would have the strength at the end.
Yep.
And I thought Ravers Army, like you spoke about, would go straight to the fence and would be a chance to run on into a placing. So 3-2-1-4.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great addition. And as I said, it's a wonderful day of racing on the Saturday. Hillsville in the morning, Meadows Saturday night. It's going to be a wonderful night. And yeah, I mean, just hoping all the SA dogs can perform at their absolute best and shove it right up the people in knockers.
Parochial Matho. There we go. Now, what about Thursday night at Angle Park? We've got a couple of heats of the Kings and Queens. Shall we cover off on those? So race 3, heat 1.
Yeah, so the Kings and Queens, this race was set up a number of years ago when the Derby and Oak series went from a 30-month restriction to a 27-month restriction. So that 3-month period of those dogs, we still wanted to try and provide a racing opportunity. And normally it's been quite successful. A little bit disappointing. We've only got 10 dogs for the series, but 2 5-dog heats. But it's really good quality races, and they will progress to a nice final next Thursday night. But in the first heat, I mean, as I said, it's a 5-dog race, but really good. I mean, She's All Cheek out of the ones in really good form for Kim Johnson.
Won again on Monday. Stepping
up massively in class here.
Yep.
Boom Boom Jinx. Could Be King for Ben Rawlings. Again, a 5-dog race is going to really help him. Finish Jewel. I really like this dog for Ryan Tugwell. I mean, a couple of its wins have been brilliant of late. And then Rage and Riot out of the 8. But yeah, I really like the clash between Could Be King and Finish Jewel here.
Yeah, look, I've got a big leaning to obviously Could Be King. We've spoke earlier on about the form lines that have come through the state final. I think this is another case of it, and I think the way it pans out with the smaller field is exactly what he'll be looking for. It's not too dissimilar to what he was able to do in the heat of the sprint in South Australia. It was small field, got around too good. Has had a run over the 595 in between as well, that final and tonight Thursday night's run, so I always like that. I think he's clearly the one to beat. Finish Jewel, you're right. I spoke to Ryan Tugwell a week or so ago, and he's really thrilled with what she's doing. So he's really got her ticking along beautifully. They
think
cleared the main 2.
She's a dog for the future. I really do like her. And a couple of her wins have been when she's found adversity and still won. I know she got beaten early in her career when she ran 3rd, when she had a huge check. Should have won. But even like her last win, don't worry about the time. She had adversity, but she still won. So I think she's a winner.
Now, the second heat of the Kings and Queens, obviously, I think Fiorano will be a pretty short price favourite here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, probably the slightly weaker of the 2 divisions, but the box draw has then sort of tumbled Fiorano into the clear favourite. So Fiorano out of the 1, Zambora Blaze, who's been going really good for Steve Book. Won, I think, on Sunday night at Gawler. Not so expensive for Lauren Harris. Has been going really good at Murray Bridge. Leonard Jinx for Gavin Harris, and the 8 Pockets Watson sort of steps back up to the 530-metre journey for Ben Rawlings. But Fiorano has shown enough, I think, Yatesy. Don't worry too much about running 6th last start. Got a bit of a bump on the first turn when challenging with Agent 99 for the lead in a probably a stronger race. Comes into box 1, has shown it can handle an inside draw. So, I mean, it looks clearly the dog to beat and probably will be quite short.
Yeah, and look, I think the other danger is Zambora Blaze, if there is one. That was a 7-length win on Sunday night in reasonable sort of time. So I think you've got to take that with with some force as well. But I think Fiorano absolutely the one to beat. Now we've got the Classic Prelude. So this is a straight final situation. What's the reason for that? Normally we have heats and finals.
Yeah, so normally we do have heats and finals of these. We have a couple of Prelude series before you get to the Group 3, which comes up in a couple of months. So
this is a paid up series?
Paid up series.
Yep.
All SA bred dogs for within a 6-month age restriction. And so normally we do have heats. We only had 7 dogs for this for the heats that were meant to be run this Thursday night, but that being the case, we've run it as a one-off final. does allow trainers then to progress and do whatever they want to do. Probably a little bit disappointing. There's quite a number of dogs paid up for this series, but 7 dogs competing. Really nice race, though. We get to see the clash of Buzz the Hustler and Foot Rot Fender, who clashed in the Champion Puppy, who ran with Foot Rot Fender winning and Buzz the Hustler running second. So we get to see that clash again. And Ascend into the mix for Kim Johnson, who is been running a lot of placings, but is a nice type. But I'm definitely looking forward to the clash between Buzz the Hustler and Foot Rot Fender. And I haven't put as much study into this race as yet, as because Bosco's said about my 4 hours was wasted the last time. So, but it's going to be a nice clash.
It will be. I've lent Buzz the Hustler's way. Look,
will he lead? Will he lead?
Look, not sure. I'm not bothered if he does or doesn't. I think he's the key to this race for me. If you go through, so what are we talking about? So we've got 4 of the 7 runners have been racing over short course recently. So 400, 400, 342, 395, 342 at their most recent runs. And the runs before that have generally been over the short course. So they're stepping up in distance. It's a big jump from going from short course up to the 530. Yep. You've got Foot Rot Fender for me. He's just had a week too long between runs. So he hasn't run since the 3rd of August. Yep. You're talking 3 weeks. He hasn't had that pattern in his career to date. He's had a week between his debut and his second place getter. He had a week again between that and the final. And then he had 2 weeks between that and his next win, which he was able to do. This is 3 weeks against Buzz the Hustler, who's coming through a Murray Bridge 532 ago and backed it up with a pretty good run behind Springvale Roxy over the 530. I think he's got the hardened strength to just be a bit too strong. Unless Bosco has been able to really keep the work up the Foot Rot Fender, and it's something Bosco's very good at, is having them, hard fit without racing to win, so through trials or through his own track work. So I'm not saying he can't, but to me, I just feel like Buzz the Hustler's got the fitness edge here, and I think that's going to be key.
Oh no, I mean they do like to trial their dogs and get them right for the races. So no doubt he'll be right and ready to go. I'm sure of it. I'm looking forward to seeing Bosco see you after the race if Foot Rot Fender wins. But I'm actually with you. I've got a lot of time for Buzz the Hustler. I really do. I think it's a really nice progressive type, and really looking forward to see what it can do for Maury Kiley. But but it's had that strength in racing, so I agree with you. I think he's nice and strong, and if you go back to that Champion Puppy, I still think Buzz the Hustler would have gone close to beating Foot Rot Fender in the run if it had a bit of clear running off the back straight. So really good clash, but I'm with you. I'm with Buzz the Hustler.
Okay, what about best bets for Thursday night, Matho, to wind us up?
Well, best bets, so I'm going to go with race 6, number 1, Beer Coaster for the Lauren Harris team. I did like its run last week when running third to Who Knows Darren. Was supported in the market as well on that night. Yep. Drew 2, showed enough speed, and wasn't quick out, but enough speed to hold its position. And just the last little bit was claimed for the second spot to run third, but they were making ground on Who Knows Darren. So I think with the benefit of that run, I think it can lead. I think by leading, I think that 530 metre run last week will put it in good stead. So looking to have that as my best bet, race 6, number 1, Beer Coaster. Who did you like on Thursday night?
Look, I'm really interested to see Reality Infrared step up to the 595. Has had the one run for a non-placing at that track and trip. But look, all its recent racing is fantastic. And I'm just going to have a little bit of a look there. So it's a bit of a dartboard throw, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Race 5, number 4. The other one is race 10, number 2, Razzle Darrell. So the reason being, I don't think I've seen him begin as well as he did the other night. He drew 6. He actually crossed the field to lead. Soda Seville was able to actually get the bob right on the peg. They went to the line together, but to me, he's drawn a bit where he wants to be. So he can sort of come out. He does like to stay up a little bit, going to that first bend, but then he likes to go back to the rail. And I thought he might be worth a look. He'd probably be a little bit of a price as well. Fantastic Radley we're going to see in that race, who had that resuming run after the long break at Murray Bridge. And, didn't he show that he's back in nice form? Yeah,
no, he had some flashing lights on him there over the 455. Goes to the 530 on Thursday night. I agree with you. Razzle Darrell's going to be really hard to beat. Drawn where he wants to be, likes to get to the rail, was desperately unlucky you could say, not to win last Thursday night because he showed that really good speed. But fantastic Radley. I mean, we're looking at him to the future, getting back to 700 metres. Gosh, Yates, he just, again, we've sort of spoke on this before. A few weeks down the track, you could see Neutron, Radley, Bedrock Fred, Rex going head-to-head over the staying trip. Bear in mind, the Premier's Cup is, again, only 2 months away during Adelaide Cup time. So they'll all be heading for that. So really looking forward to that.
Well, plenty there. Good episode, mate. I'm sure the fans have got a lot to get their teeth into. So best of luck, and we'll see you at the track Thursday night.